The KGB comes to Michigan.
The Clankerlympics.
Somebody call 911. Sean Kingston imprisoned for wire fraud.
All this and more on this week's episode of News Sensation.
Hello and welcome to News Sensation, the news podcast where we bring you the weirdest and most wonderful stories from the week in news. I'm Chris Patel in Manchester.
And I'm Matty Curry in sunny Maori.
It looks very sunny over there, Matty. Indeed, it does.
You get a real sense of the Mediterranean sort of vibe going on here.
You do. You're kind of doing like a Mediterranean tour. Um, I mean, well, you kind of you're headed that way. Maybe next week you'll be in, I don't know, Turkey, somewhere else in the Mediterranean.
Is this in reference to the fact that the only one of us who has been away for one of these recordings was me, and it's when I was in France?
Yes.
I was not, because famously, Chris, not in the Mediterranean where I
No, but
was.
it trends that way, doesn't it?
No, because I was on the Atlantic coast. So for it to trend that way, it would have to go around the entirety of the north coast of Spain, the whole of Portugal, through the Strait of Gibraltar, and then it trends that way.
Well, I've already made a fool of myself, but Matty, not as much as some of the people we'll be talking about this week.
Oh my goodness, don't even get me started, Christopher. People have really been making a name for themselves. Oh, I'm making a name for myself. But lots of people making a name for themselves this week with some crazy shit, some absolutely diabolical nonsense.
That's a news
And
term, by the way. Crazy shit.
that, yes, crazy shit, diabolical nonsense. You see, like when you go onto like BBC or The Guardian or whatever, and you're clicking to see, you got like culture, lifestyle, diabolical nonsense. It flows nicely. But no, it has really spiced up my holiday to be researching for this show and to be like, oh boy, oh boy. And I think the person who stood out the most was actually the first story that I encountered in my research this week. And one that it was like a kick to the jaw and just as delightful. Yes, the story of Jack Anderton, the 23-year-old who set up and ran for a while Farage's TikTok, which now sits at north of 1 million followers, very successful TikTok page, before helping Luke Campbell become the mayor of Hull and East Yorkshire. Um, Perhaps the form's most effective social media talisman, I'm going to say. He's also a staunch advocate for self-interested British foreign policy.
Do
Now,
tell.
Chris, I can see the confused look on your face where you're
I
like, what on earth does a self-interested British foreign
I mean,
policy look like?
I honestly want to know where Reform are getting all these young people from. Like
I don't know.
they do
It
seem to
is quite
trend
staggering.
towards the younger than new appointees. I mean, hey, it's good for the job market.
It is. Well, famously, one of the young appointees who we talked about has subsequently been booted from his job. So, uh,
Yeah,
when
after
can we go back to that comment that someone put on that TikTok saying they're doing better than us? I
well,
want that framed behind me for the rest of the video.
well, neither of us have been fired yet by
No, no,
anyone,
no, no.
but it could happen.
That's a joy yet to come for both of us, I feel. Is
Indeed. But if we are fired, we can always start making TikToks for Farage.
or we can set up our own blog where we spout a political philosophy that's absolutely insane. So Anderton thinks that any war that is not on British soil shouldn't concern Britain. And how do we know this? Well, it's his blog, of course. Britain needs change. Home to such staggeringly acute insights, Christopher, as Russia is not our enemy. They've not attacked Britain.
Well, there you go. I mean,
Well, there you go. Why didn't we think of this? Get Kia back from the UC, forget the meeting, forget all that. And someone told the rest of the EU there as well. Mertz, sunshine, calm down.
no,
Plenty attacked
it's
Germany.
back to basics. I mean, Hitler never Operation Sea Lion never happened. So,
Yeah, no happened. Battle of
Hit,
Britain, total
Hitler not
bollocks.
our enemy, apparently.
Not our enemy. I mean, Dunkirk, who was kind enough to put a halt order on the Panzers that had been moving for 2 weeks straight on meth? You know? He
Oh,
loved the British, loved the British. Famously didn't try and wipe them off the face of the earth with a Luftwaffe. Loved them. But the thing is, the thing I found out this quote that is interesting before we get to the rest of the story is that immediately saying it out loud to you there, my brain went, yeah, but what about when they did? Such as, well, when we covered the Wagner Group burning down the warehouse in London, or, poisoning people
Yeah.
in Salisbury. That is an attack on British soil.
Or anytime you
So
go onto Twitter and look at the lovely comments with AI profile pictures.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Which will tell you all the truth you need to know about the Russian government and all the truth about everything in the world, really. But Anderton firmly believes that Britain has wasted, in his mind, trillions of pounds of British taxes. And again, it's always complaining about taxpayers' money. What do they want it spent on? In foreign lands, in the pursuit of democracy, human rights, and doing what is right. He's right. It's ridiculous to do what's right. I mean, democracy, who cares? Now, more than 1 million British lives have been lost, Chris, since World War One in wars and battles that have never once been fought by British men on this island. And I can't really do that right now because I'm not in Britain either when I'm doing. But on this island, it should be remembered, right, that all of this is fundamentally stupid. The Stop the Boats lobby can't also be the Stop Foreign Aid lobby. They try and be both. You can't be both.
No, like why do you think a lot of them are getting on boats in the first place?
Yeah, exactly. But the thing is that they aren't concerned about human beings forced into being refugees. No, they're concerned about the number of brown faces in their town. Let's face it, that's what the Stop the Boats thing is about. If they actually want to stop the boats, they would increase foreign aid and make sure that we do incorporate democracy and finally do the right thing in nations where we haven't for a very long time. But anyway, getting back onto Anderton. He said that we should no longer support Ukraine, who he believes we have no allegiance to, quote, and if for no other reason that we should do it, that the notion that we cannot afford it. Yet again, what are we saving the money for if not upholding democracy and the rights of our, fellow believers in Western values? No,
I
that's fine.
imagine
We
he
can't
just
do that.
really, really wanted Sam Ryder to win Eurovision. And but with that, I can sympathize with it because Ukraine winning that year, also woke nonsense.
Also woke nonsense. I mean, it's not really relevant, is it? So this radical approach to foreign affairs extends exactly to where you think it extends. What has made the headlines for Anderton this week is that in the name of alternative history, he loves to ponder the notion of what would have happened had we not fought in the world wars.
Right.
Sack the various treaties, sleep on the whole Schlieffen Plan, and forget about the messed up Nazis. If we merely would have stayed away, we would not have had to rely on America for economic support. Fair, maybe, understandable argument. And we could have focused instead on developing our imperial holdings, such as India, Australia, Canada, South
Right.
Africa, New Zealand, and Ireland. Oh. Um, so again, across that whole thing, if your entire argument, because he was also complaining that the Germans by the 1970s were doing better than us economically, and it's like that's because they managed their economy better,
Hmm.
and that was exclusively West Germany.
Yes.
And again, like he was complaining that we owed America massive amounts of money until 2006, and it's like I'm not gonna lie, worth it, worth worth every penny to beat the Nazis. That shouldn't be a hot take.
It surprises me that
What
he's not one of the oh, if they'd won, we'd always speak in German crowd. Which it always amuses me when people say that because the fact that we be speaking German is the best thing about the Nazis. Like it's and like I don't even I'm not some mega fan of the German language, but they did worse things than speak German.
Yeah, like I'm not gonna lie to you. If they had won, I would not be here.
Yeah.
I would, and my German's great. It doesn't matter. I would not be
Well,
here.
according to Jack Anderton, I might not be here either because they'd have strengthened their imperial holdings.
So very true, Chris. But hey, fear not. The colonial endeavors that directly related to the very foreign conflicts that we ought to not be involved in today, according to Anderton. Forget all of that. Forget all of that. Because in the coming meritocracy, perhaps Britain could regain some of these nations. What? And Anderton, like I
Where to
refer to
start on that
him.
shopping list?
Yeah, yeah.
Out
First
of
of
the ones
all,
you out of the ones you named, which do you think would be the easiest to take?
Oh, well, he named a whole bunch. I think Cyprus.
So,
Perhaps he mentioned Cyprus in there, and I was kind of like, I mean, that's the whole of the kettle of fish that you don't want to open.
oh no,
But I think
Cyprus
when he
would not
went,
be best
like,
pleased.
but look, is this spirit of leaving despotic invaders to it so that we may re-engage in our despotic invasions really that surprising for a man who last year praised Nayib Bukele's policies in El Salvador that have put 2% of the population in prison? Uh,
That is wild.
Yet Anderton appears to place it in some of the perspective, writing, "Extraordinary times require extraordinary measures." Which, again, I can see where the threads are building in his head. But then he says directly afterwards, "I'd even argue the measures aren't that extraordinary and should be in place in times of normalcy." Um, which,
Nayib Bukele's literally got what the villain in the first Johnny English film wanted. He's literally got a prison country, effectively.
yes, yeah, 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 yeah. Which is also, again, to see that interlink between MAGA and the British right now, it's where Trump deports people to be in effectively what are concentration camps. Now, back on his pulpit, he says, "Power works, and it's all that matters. State power, when used effectively, is basically omnipotent." That is insane. Let the record show that is an insane political opinion that can only exclusively be held by an absolutist madman, right? Don't let
Also,
anyone ever tell you that
Eric,
state power should be omnipotent.
it could also be held by Eric Adams, who has a divine right of mayors.
Well, so very true. So very true. Um,
Also, in
he's
terms of might makes right, I've seen Jack Anderton, and it reminds me of, you know that was it the Navy SEAL who did he was he responsible for killing? Was it
Oh, Osama bin Laden.
well, it was Osama, yeah. And
Yeah.
he tweeted at somebody on Twitter, if there were no social media, you would be my concubines. Yeah,
Yes,
if Jack
yes.
Anderton got his way, he would be somebody's concubine.
He would be. Jack Anderton is an evil twink, and that's the best way I can describe him in any way. I looked at him and went, "This is like he's suffered from what I would call a spiritual twink death." Usually, people point to when someone over time kind of loses their kind of boyish charms and goes twink death. This guy, no, what he lost is his innocence. The golden orb of his childhood has dissipated into a black and cold heart. Because
I mean,
he says the meritocracy will be established, criminals and corrupt officials will be jailed, and immigration will drop to zero.
wow.
What is wrong with you?
Trump
That
on
doesn't
Truth
make
Social is
sense.
calling. No, I'm
But again,
excited for later when we talk about one of the other great twink deaths, Grant Shapps.
oh, so true. So true. Now, this absolute authoritarianism that echoes the sort of El Salvadorian styles, described by Amnesty, it should be pointed out, as serious violations of human rights, it brings only one word to mind. No, sorry, Hobbs. But the question is, who will be Anderson's Leviathan, Chris? Will it be
Ooh.
Luke Campbell, the mayor of Hull and East Yorkshire, who really pushed hard to get this lad onto his staff because he likes him so much? Why?
Ooh.
Um, but apparently, Mayor of Hull and East Yorkshire can't make political appointees. Who saw that one coming? It's almost as if when they're doing this whole thing of lobbying for a Department of Government Efficiency and all these different things, at local level, they're shooting way too high, way too quick. Perhaps then it's Farage wearing his Reform UK football top like the biggest
Yeah.
wanker planet with his own name on the back, number 10 on the back, and for 60 quid extra, it's signed. Maybe the guy who he helped reach 1.3 million followers on TikTok will be this Leviathan, this state power that could achieve an omnipotence in the UK. But look, when the Guardian reached out to try and find out more about this whole thing, what was quite funny is that Campbell's office sent them to Reform for all their questions, and Reform said he's not employed by us or the mayor. Don't ask about him. And it's like, yeah, but he's been involved in both of your things. Don't ask about him.
It's such a thick of it situation. Like you can imagine them
It
being
really
like,
is.
"We do not associate with this guy," just
Yeah, yeah,
flapping
yeah.
around the office.
Look, he exists in the margins. His views exist in the margins. But as we discussed, Chris, he wouldn't be the first person who would take a piggyback, hitching a ride on Britain's most erratic bandwagon to get those views into a sort of public consensus. And it does remind me of what's happening right now in America, where Andrew Cuomo, a friend of the show, is
Enemy of the
is
show. He's
enemy of the
against the
show.
Curtis Sliwa mayoralty. So he's got to go.
Oh my days. Honestly, the New York mayoral election, like I had to stop myself talking about it every week because it's just so funny.
Yeah, if you've
But
tuned in before, you'll know reform. I've even
perform,
reform
perform.
is it reform? No. If you've tuned in before, you'll know that reform occupies a lot of our thoughts, a lot of Matty's thoughts.
Yeah.
It's right up there with China and what's going on in China. I think you
Chinese
could be
youth,
a double
New
issues
York mayoral
politician.
election. We have our niches, but he's in another scramble, a mad dash to clean up, and it's not because Trump is basically publicly endorsing him at this point. They keep having multiple meetings about strategy of how to beat Mamdani, which is pretty dodgy from someone who claimed to try and be a Democratic nominee. Um, but because somebody called Jason Levin has been posting online that he was approached by Cuomo's team to create memes for the campaign with a picture of him with Cuomo from a young professionals sort of fundraiser as proof of the matter, and also resharing where the Cuomo team had used one of his memes, which, of course, it should be pointed out was crap, fresh out of 2012, and would make anyone who isn't like a bottom dwelling scumbag just go, "That's not funny."
You can't beat
But
Mamdani on the meme game. As
you
well,
can't.
Cuomo is probably putting out like "Can I has cheeseburger" and the like Nyan Cats for
It was
2026.
literally the get this business presentation meme where it's like a mayor who's worked a job before. It's like, yeah, do you know what Andrew Cuomo's last big job was? Yeah, the one that he had to resign because of numerous reports of sexual harassment. Do you remember that job that he worked before?
Yeah,
Because Cuomo's been complaining recently that although he's now more tech savvy, he's like, look, I tweet, therefore I am. You know, this whole business, I believe he says, has become very superficial. Um, and so he thinks that everything now all comes down to three words. Every policy is three words, according to Cuomo. So here you go. You lost, Andrew. But that won't stop you from having Jason Levin somewhere in the wings, who, alongside his actual social media manager, Daniel Liss, who approved the meme that Levin had sent, um, are the ones who are trying to get a bit of momentum back for Cuomo. Cuomo, now that people have realized who Levin is in panic mode, trying to basically go, I don't know this guy.
right.
Like he's not been approached by the team at all. All there is this one meme that's been carried over, which may be so. But ultimately, you're taking on board the meme output of a guy who is a self-proclaimed meme lord and vocally MAGA, who posts with glee on his X account about union busting. Uh, really? New York Mayor nominee Andrew Cuomo right there.
Yeah, no.
But yeah, he tried to cover all this up at his fundraiser up in the Hamptons. Meanwhile, Mamdani was doing his tour of the boroughs, talking to people in their local businesses and talking to the actual unions rather than, sharing memes, the union buster. But Chris, speaking of sort of technology being distorted and used for all sorts of nefarious deeds, you have a story for us about some robots, don't you?
I certainly do, because this week Beijing hosted the world's first ever Clankerlympics. And Matty, I always, whenever I say that word, I always feel a tinge of regret, as if, George Santayana did warn us that those who forget to learn from history are doomed to repeat it. But I just hate those robots so much. Um,
Oh,
and this was
no
the
daughter of mine. I
and
do
this
live in fear of that, the reprisals.
try having a daughter first, Matty, and then
Oh, very true.
we'll get to that point. Cross that bridge when we come to it. This was the World Humanoid Robot Games. So robots representing 280 universities, private companies, and even a few middle schools from 16 different countries, including the US, China, Germany, and Japan, competed across a number of events. And the opening ceremony had robots playing drums and dressed as terracotta warriors, and with some wearing labubus. Uh,
Game's gone.
I,
Game's gone.
game's gone.
The
Surprised they weren't
Parliamentary
wearing.
Olympic Committee I loved.
We love the Olympic Committee.
Love the Olympic Committee, friends of the
Friends of the
show.
show. Um, they were alongside human performers, which is just as well because one robot fell during the ceremony and had to be carried off stage by two humans. Two flesh monkeys.
Do flesh monkeys having to carry their robot overlord? Yeah.
So the list of events is I don't have a complete list, but it's some of the old favorites. So 100-meter sprint, 400 meters hurdles, 100 meters obstacles, which is quite fun. We'll link videos to some of these in the notes.
I need them to introduce that into the regular Olympics as well.
Yeah,
And
well, I mean they have steeplechase, but it just is shit. Like a puddle is not an obstacle, is it? They need
that's not
like
very Oxbridge of you, Chris. I mean, I thought steeplechase was how people got to classes in
a
those
sim-
universities.
no, we just wear all white and run along a beach, really, in slow motion. Um, they also had gymnastics, high jump, football, kickboxing, kung fu, and even table tennis. Which out of those, I reckon I'm getting whooped at table tennis by a robot. Are you kidding
Yeah,
me?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
A table tennis playing robot.
But also kung fu. Not gonna lie. Or kickboxing. Imagine getting kicked in the shin by a robot.
They're actually not good.
Oh, that's reassuring.
I think it might hit the bone, but I think that could I
Yeah,
be
give me a good pair of kick pads, and I'm taking that
yeah.
clankers to town.
It's interesting to think about as we do this story, like which of the events we would beat the robots in. But there's definitely some examples. Because some of the robots performed astonishing feats like backflips, but generally people are pointing out how much the robots fell over. So in
That
the
would be me in the Olympics, to be fair.
yeah, and someone tied your shoelaces together.
Whoa.
In the football, one goalkeeper robot stood there as the opponent just kicked the ball at its legs several times before finally managing to score.
That sounds like my university Sunday league, to be fair. I
Yeah.
mean,
In one athletics event, one robot by what I think was probably the best team of these Olympics, Unitary Robotics from China, ran off the track and into a human staff member, knocking him down. It's again, we'll link it down below. It was mercenary
incredible.
stuff.
Yeah. Well, I mean, at that point, it's just a Zamboni with legs. Like, just straight line right
Matty,
at you.
that's quite an insensitive comment. We'll have to put something in the put something in the description about that one. Speaking of unitary robotics, though, they won 4 golds in the track events, and they won the 1500 meters with a time of 6 minutes, 34 seconds, and 400 milliseconds, which is far slower than the human record, which is held by,
Ingebrigtsen.
of course, with 3 minutes 29. But it's still faster than many non-professional human runners. I reckon I could take them. There was also the 100 meters that was done in 21 and a half seconds, which I mean, I knew some people at school who would be hunted down by
They
those
would be
robots.
struggling. They would have been struggling. The thing is, it's like I don't think it's necessarily a fair comparison. What we're dealing with here is we're dealing with what's effectively little kiddies, right? They're the first spawns of a new age. Compared to Ingebrigtsen, who feels like he was made in a Norwegian lab over centuries of sort of
Yeah.
micromanagement to become the ultimate like middle distance runner. But all this, I mean, look, the thing is that what I always say about these robot things is past us showing you a few clips, do you really want to sit down for 6 minutes to watch robots run?
Well, I
Because it's
mean,
nowhere near as interesting, surely.
Hong Yun, a 58-year-old retired engineer, was sat in the front row and he said it was much more exciting than seeing real humans.
He didn't watch the last Olympics. The 1500 meters races were fantastic.
No, Hong Yun, and we're an anti-bullying pod, Matty, but I want to stuff that
Yeah.
guy into a locker. Like this could be the end of
What
humanity.
a nerd. What a
We might
nerd.
what a nerd. We might these are the meme lords, the abandoned meme lords of last story.
When they raised the flags at the medal ceremony, he was on there with his diaper, just sort of like, just sort of- his underpants draped over the top of a big wedgie, just pulled up.
Oh no. It's just like a front row of mill houses. But there's a to bring us back down to earth, Matty, there's a big picture, a potentially
Okay.
scary robotic future. The games were intended to test robots' decision making and motor skills, and it's part of China's big push to become a global leader in humanoid robotics by 2027. The US still has the lead on research because Washington restricts the export of cutting-edge chips to China, but Beijing is going all in on the real-life applications. An army of AI robots have already brought down manufacturing costs, and in some cases helped companies in China withstand Trump's tariffs.
Wow,
Um,
that is quite spooky.
it is. The Guardian says the political and public will in China is firmly behind the humanoids. So that's the robots. Pointing to a mother who took her two daughters to the games because she said exposing them to high tech will broaden their horizons.
I mean, I guess, yeah, it's better to know than to just live in a blind. Because like, if you're going about your life not really keeping track of all this, then one day it just comes running past you. You're gonna, the organs are falling out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the wheels have fallen off. But we do get some hope from Alan Fern, a robotics professor at Oregon State University, who
Go
said
Beavers.
he said that the humanoid robot games helped to give the public a realistic impression of where things really are. He said the robots are still dumb.
Damn right, baby. And so are we. So look, Chris, enough about dumb robot sports. I want dumb human sports. And as you well know, and as I kind of frequently reference on this show, I'm a big fan of college football.
What?
I know, crazy. Who would have seen it coming?
Easter
Well, the
egg?
University of Michigan Wolverines won the 2023 College Football National Championship, much to my chagrin, amid accusations of illegal sign stealing. Now, this past week, the NCAA, the body that basically controls all of collegiate athletics in America, announced the sanctions against the school, and the college football world has met them with resounding groans. So, what did they do, and why is it the sanctions feel really inconsequential? This is going to be me really just being on like a sort of hate rant. But I'm going to try and break this down as concisely as I can, because I'm well aware that a lot of our listeners might not be all caught up on college football, but
Yeah,
that's okay.
you normally do your hateful rants before the episode, Matty. This must
I
just be because
know.
I'm not there.
I need you here so that I can get it out of my system.
Go for
It's,
it.
I'm all alone. I need you now. And look, Connor Stallions is the first name we've got to address. From
Wow.
2020, what a name!
What
What
a
a
name.
name! From 2021 2023, Michigan staffer Connor Stallions bought tickets on the secondary market to watch Michigan's upcoming opponents. He distributed these tickets among his friends so that they may record that team's signals. Now, he referred to these friends as the KGB and to their recordings as dirty film. And so our controversy begins. So, sign stealing, which is the act of watching your opponent's signals from the sidelines, where all the coaches are, to the players on the field, deciphering their meaning and using this understanding to your advantage to decide how you might defend against it or attack it, is widespread and permissible. This needs to be understood.
Mm.
However, what most certainly is not permissible under the very strict rules and regulations is the in-person scouting of future opponents, nor is the recording of their signals.
I
So,
I don't
two
really
things.
get I don't really get that because so anyone associated with a team is prohibited from going to watch the game of the person they're going to play next.
So, not in that. I understand where you're getting at.
Yeah.
Yes, but they still watch the game. So, like watching film on your opponents is a big aspect of the game. Preparing, being able to kind of view it all. But it is that thing of being in person.
Right.
So the fact that you can go to the stadium and because it is seen as an interference. Now, Michigan argued that the rule against in-person scouting was adopted as a cost-cutting approach and had nothing to do with the integrity of the game. Basically, to translate, it, if it wasn't a rule, everyone would feel obliged to do it, and not every program can afford to do it. Especially since, and this is something worth remembering, a lot of even the big programs are currently operating in the red.
Oh,
It's a very expensive world right now, college football. So expenses. Now, is this necessarily the case? Well, it's good of them to admit it, that it's a very expensive exercise, because it brings into a point raised by Norman Bay, who was the chief hearing officer of the committee that were overseeing all of this, who said, "You don't put together a network of individuals called the KGB that records what they called dirty film, where the cost of doing this is in the tens of thousands of dollars over 3 seasons, unless you intend to gain a substantial competitive advantage."
Yeah, it's really a it's a dead giveaway. It's
Yeah.
a binder with evil plan written over the top.
Yeah. So regardless of your opinion on the rule itself, it sort of creates a bit of a situation where it's like, yes, but you've gone through all this effort to break it. Why? So Stallion says that he acquired the funds to undertake the project through property sales and rentals.
Okay.
But he's not necessarily the most reliable witness to his own actions. He said in a documentary for Netflix last year called Sign Stealer, that receiving this tape from his friends, that he pumped all this revenue into scattering them across the country and, told them how to film it properly. He said it's like when your aunt gives you a present at Christmas that you already have. You're not going to be rude and be like, "Oh, I already have this. I don't need it." Inferring that he would already have all the footage that he spent tens of thousands of dollars sending them out to capture. Look, I'm not saying,
Politeness could be
but
politeness could be an excuse for many kind of rule breakings and crimes, couldn't it? Your Honor, I just had to take the black tar heroin. It would have been impolite.
oh, but I insist. So his antics went even further, though. Speaking of in-person scouting, there's numerous teams in the state of Michigan, and Michigan's main rival in state is Michigan State, the Spartans.
Right.
And they were playing against Central Michigan, known as the Chippewas. Great name. But Connor Stallions was spotted wearing Central Michigan gear on the Central Michigan Chippewa sideline, during their game against Michigan State.
So he went
Um,
in disguise, essentially.
he went in disguise. Now, it's widely believed that he did that to not only do in-person scouting, but also he was apparently helping a staffer on the CMU staff call plays for Central Michigan. It's a very weird story.
Okay.
He's also bragged to a player that his personal cell phone that investigators were demanding he turn over was shattered in 1,000 pieces under a pond.
Under a
What?
pond? In
Under
the
a pond?
in
This is what
the
threw me. I'm
in
like,
the Earth's
you've really gone
mantle,
the extra mile.
like under a pond.
Yeah. In the Earth's crust, you will find Connor Stallion's phone in 1,000 pieces. He also told that same player that it's acceptable to lie your ass off to the NCAA, which it isn't.
And there's
Now,
a lot of ass if you've ever seen footballers.
so true. I mean, some of those linemen, badonkadunk.
I think they
Um,
must wear the most ridiculous outfits of any sport.
yes, but it works in a weird way. The aesthetics line up.
Only though because we've known it for so
No,
long. If somebody tried to
no, the
launch it
aesthetics line
today,
up. Yeah.
they look
It's
like,
one of
you
those
know,
things
those.
where it is something you get accustomed to. You're absolutely right. It isn't that like
Yeah,
the first time they wore it, everyone went immediately, "That's cool as hell." They're like, "What are you wearing?"
it's like those guys with the foam oars and the headgear who try and knock each other off the podium. It's only one shade less ridiculous.
Okay, right. We're gonna get to this on a separate point. Okay.
I'm basically like spitting on Matty's holy book here.
You really are, but I'm not going to fall for rage bait because I need to tell you that Connor Stallions also told a player and a member of staff to remove items from Michigan's office in backpacks. Is he smuggling
it's,
it out?
it's Watergate.
It's Watergate. Well, it is actually known as
Under the
Spygate.
under the
So
pond gate. Oh, it's known
under
as
the
like
pond gate. So
this is
the committee
crazy.
described this as one of the more significant and serious failures to comply that they'd ever seen. Stallion's lawyer, meanwhile, took the Trump defense, calling the whole thing a rigged investigation. It's rigged, about a completely irrelevant rule. No one
Completely
likes the rule.
irrelevant.
The rule doesn't make
I
sense.
love
Everyone's saying we shouldn't have it.
failure to comply as well. As if this guy who named his buddies the KGB and went along in a disguise was really trying to comply but failed.
Yeah. So enter Sharon Moore, who is the current head coach of the Michigan Wolverines. I'm intentionally mispronouncing his name to be annoying.
Right.
But at the time, he was predominantly offensive coordinator. In a moment of lunacy that Stallions himself would appreciate, though, Moore deleted a thread of 52 text messages he exchanged with Stallions and another text on his work phone that referenced him. He did all this right when the allegations came to light in the middle of the 2023 season, in what Moore called an emotional reaction to the allegations.
We've all had
Though,
anxiety, apart from
yeah,
you,
yeah.
actually.
Well, I wouldn't know. Yeah. It is worth noting, though, that he had already previously said in the investigation that it wasn't because of that, but because he didn't have enough storage space on his phone. So conveniently, all his correspondence with Connor Stallions out the window. The only person who really suffered from this was Chris Partridge, who was the only person fired because Stallions and Harbaugh resigned to go do other things. Chris Partridge was fired, and the committee had to basically say, you know what, that was a bit too far. Because all he did was tell a player to get a lawyer, which is probably good advice.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, let's talk about Moore, the only one of these people who is still at the team, the man who deleted all those text messages. He's been banned for a total of 3 games, two this season, one next season, and none of them are in big games.
Last December, a British Ghanaian artist, Joseph Awuah-Darko, you may not have heard of him, but you will, um, captured hearts across the world when he announced that he would soon be seeking an assisted death. And this is a story which looks at the world's first euthanasia influencer from behind the curtain and how he isn't what he seems. Matty, have you heard of
I
Joseph
have
Awuah-Darko,
indeed.
who goes
I
by
remember, yeah,
Okuntakinte on Instagram?
which is a wild name.
Yeah.
I remember seeing the thing that you're about to discuss and going, "Wow, what a wholesome thing to do." In the midst of my doom scrolls, it was a nice little shred of light, and so I'm glad that you're suffocating that light for me now, Chris.
I'm the destroyer of dreams. So our Darko already had a following on Instagram and talked about what he described as his treatment-resistant bipolar disorder. But when he revealed his reason for moving to the Netherlands last year was that so he could legally end his life, his online fame skyrocketed. He also announced the Last Supper project, his plan to spend the remainder of his life traveling across Europe, sharing intimate farewell dinners with strangers. After this announcement, his online following doubled to more than 500,000 people, including such stars as Channing Tatum, Stormzy, Paloma Faith, SZA, and Queen Latifah.
Whew.
Quite a freshman XXL freestyle you got in that. He was also interviewed in dozens of international newspapers, and this new fame allowed Awuah-Darko to carry out his project, traveling all over the continent of Europe to share meals in strangers' homes. However, Matty, and this is where the dreams get crushed. There's no
Ooh.
such thing as a free dinner.
Oh
So
no.
it soon became clear that Awuah-Darko expected his hosts to pay for everything, not just food, but often trains, flights, and quote unquote additional expenses. Some people who didn't want to cook even treated him to meals at high-end restaurants that cost over $100 per person. Two journalists, Clara Gaspar of the Daily Mail and Maud Efting of Dutch newspaper De Volkskrant, who I should credit for their reporting on this, it's very good, spoke to one Amsterdam woman who hosted Awuah-Darko for a meal. So Emily, which is not her real name, suffered from BPD, borderline personality disorder, and ADHD. So she felt she and Awuah-Darko could have meaningful conversations about mental health. She also said she felt compelled to help him as she assumed he only had a few months of life left. Before the dinner, she said he claimed to have been injured and couldn't walk and asked Emily to pay for taxis to and from her home. But she said there was no sign of injury when he arrived.
Get the red flags out, boys.
When he arrived, Emily said that he began filming without asking and spent most of the night on his phone already editing the video.
It's like one of our dinner parties. No.
Oh no, it is. Yeah, me and Matty, we only see each other for work now, me and Matty. We've changed. Emily said, "We spoke for about 20 minutes. He only talked about himself and showed no interest in us, and left much of the food we had cooked for him." Now, Awuah-Darko posts about all of his meals on his Instagram, and after this meal, he posted that he and Emily had a long and full discussion about death. Emily says they only discussed it for a few minutes. On his Instagram, Awuah-Darko also advertises his supper club, FUI, which stands for Fucked Up Individuals, which he
That's
and
our
his
Patreon, isn't
yeah.
it?
Subscribe to Fucked Up Individuals. Um, and this supper club is him and his fashion designer best friend hosting dinners for up to 8 guests for £130 a ticket. And he's posted a list of rules for his supper club on Instagram. I'll do Matty. Can you do a dramatic reading of rule number four? I'll do two and seven. So,
Absolutely.
rule number two, dress code, black. Funerals for our former selves that night.
Rule four, the Doodles. That's his French dogs. Our co-hosts. They are therapy, witnesses, and better conversationalists than most of us. Stroke one when words fail.
Rule number seven, bring a wound, not a resume. Bragging rights here are measured in scars, not accolades. So,
I'm sorry, the part of that was contained laughter at stroke one when words fail. Which
words
is
fail, words fail.
the ultimate advert for foreplay I've ever heard.
It's dry. Oh
Well,
no.
words failed, got a stroke one there.
To add to the list of allegations Okuntakinte is facing. He's telling his guests to stroke one when words fail. Oh
Oh,
no, that's hilarious. Well, you can tell from those he's quite an arty farty type, I think is putting it mildly.
yes.
Um, he says he's not made a profit on the estimated £10,000 he's generated from hosting supper clubs, and suggested that some proceeds would be donated to Bipolar UK. They say they're not accepting any donations from the project as they disagree with what they see as promoting euthanasia as a solution to mental health problems.
Ah,
Awuah-Darko, he's got these various sources of making money, but he claims his only source of actual income is a Substack newsletter he's set up, from which he makes £1,500 a month, so less than minimum wage. Um,
yeah.
Anybody, of course, can fall on hard times, but looking at Awuah-Darko's family history complicates the picture even further, because he's the youngest son of a family estimated to be worth over £500 million.
Okay.
So
Where's this
he
going?
says that he studied entrepreneurship at Oxford University and he's been immersed in the fine art world, having hosted an exhibition at London's fancy Ed Cross Gallery.
I
Um,
see. I mean, I'm neither of us are Oxford grads, but I think you're kind of like I was geographically closer. I think you were more sort of academically closer. Is entrepreneurship something you can read at Oxford?
I'd never heard about it at Cambridge. I mean, yeah, I wasn't aware of it, but I mean, entrepreneurship at Oxford to his current supposed situation. It's not the most likely path. He
No.
self-identifies as a homeless immigrant, saying that when he moved to the Netherlands, he slept in public toilets and car parks until his aforementioned fashion designer friend, that's who he does the supper club with, took him in. But on his LinkedIn, he still calls himself an entrepreneur. On top of that, he claims that his family cuts him off financially because he's a gay man. Then he contradicted himself by admitting that they're paying his legal fees. More on the legal case in a minute. Um,
Okay.
and his claims of poverty unravel further when you see his Instagram feed, replete with pictures of him wearing designer outfits and sporting luxury handbags. He's blocked users who've questioned him about this apparent contradiction, and he explains his designer handbag by calling it deeply ironic.
Now that's not how that works. No, that's not how that
This
works at all,
handbag,
though.
it's ironic. It's a bit. I'm a homeless immigrant.
You excuse just drop boys?
Yeah.
Your Honor, it was ironic.
This is not the first time, Matty, that Awuah-Darko's been under scrutiny for his financial dealings. He used
Oh
to work
dear.
as a curator and an art dealer in Ghana, and several artists accused him of failing to pay them when he sold their artwork. One artist, Foster Sakyama, he says that he's owed £195,000. Another artist, Ishmael Amar, says he is still owed 45 grand, and the Awuah-Darko made excuses when he asked him for the money. One saying that his bank account was blocked, another time saying that his roommate had been in an accident, and another time straight up saying, "Last night I considered suicide."
Right. That's not how you handle financial dealings.
No. Awuah-Darko denies this, telling the Dutch newspaper De Volkskrant they are doing this out of greed. When he went to speak to De Volkskrant, Awuah-Darko was wearing Prada sneakers and a designer handbag, that it's the ironic one, worth more than £2,000.
Hey, takes one to know one when it comes to the greedy.
Which brings you to an overwhelming question, and not the most humorous one. Did Awuah-Darko ever intend to die? Fortunately,
Oh.
Awuah-Darko announced midway through this year that he was no longer intending to go through with euthanasia. but it's doubtful whether he ever intended to at all. Because, for one, he admitted to the Times in February that he had not even applied to start the long euthanasia process. Short term visitors are also not generally eligible for euthanasia in the Netherlands, as it requires a long standing relationship with a Dutch physician. And the Netherlands also requires patients to be declared beyond treatment by a psychiatrist. That's a diagnosis that Awuah-Darko does not have. He doesn't even currently take any medication. Liz Schweren, a senior researcher at 113, which is a Dutch suicide prevention group, weighed in on the whole situation. She said, "We know that death wishes usually pass, especially among young people. But when someone has shared their wish to die on social media and a large group of people start following them precisely because of that death wish, then sharing thoughts about death can take on a different function. It can become part of their online identity." So, if all of his claims are to be believed on social media, Awuah-Darko has lived a life of profound suffering. There's lots on there that we haven't talked about. Feel free to go and check them out for yourself. It's telling, though, that these claims are often framed in a way that deflects criticism. Here's two examples from his Instagram. One post which read, "I've made tragically interesting decisions, even if you put aside my, at times, crippling neurodivergence." And another one is, "It's perfectly fine to receive hate for not fulfilling the poverty pornography of a West African immigrant. I always look relatively put together, even on days when I don't feel like being alive." So Awuah-Darko's audience is a vulnerable one. And this is part of the reason why he can continue to monetize his misery. One of his dinners has even been with SZA, the artist who later gave him free concert tickets. But he's telling a story that, when you look into it, doesn't all the way add up.
See, it's a real shame because the whole sort of Last Supper project, which again, it does sound like an industry plant band, but besides that,
The last dinner
it
party, yeah.
was something that was really, really wholesome. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It was something that was very wholesome. And when I first encountered it, I was like, wow, it's a really nice narrative that's kind of unfolding here. This person who is like, they've reached a point in life they don't want to continue any longer. It was a confrontation with euthanasia you don't often see. And then he's going around and people were welcoming into their homes and they seem to be having these great conversations. And when I first heard that he decided not to go through the euthanasia, I thought, well, maybe through this experience, he kind of, in a way, learned to appreciate life in a whole different way and they didn't want to go through it anymore. But yeah, the more you look at it, the more that it starts to be the case that, like, all the times that he has owed people money and deflected by using his mental health, all the times that he used the situation in which to profit from the charity of other people. And again, the thing that really drives at the wall is this whole thing of sort of like saying that it's poverty pornography if you're questioning why somebody who has apparently been cut off by all their sort of loved ones in their life is walking around with designer handbags, hanging out with designers, hanging out with celebrities, all these different things. It is quite interesting, especially when you consider that he hadn't even started on the whole thing.
No,
And
there's
as a medicated depressive, apparently I'm further down the line towards euthanasia than he is.
he well
So
he says that he had lithium a while ago and it didn't work, but he's not been
yeah,
diagnosed as beyond treatment or um by a Dutch physician. But I mean, that kind of speaks to the difficulty of this whole story because the the British media, he's British Ghanaian, has
Hmm.
really sort of pussyfooted around this. So there's the Volkskrant, which is Dutch, obviously, and the Daily Mail. Clara Gaspar's reporting is from behind a paywall, which is sort of feels like a defensive step. All the other kind
Yeah.
of coverage of Awuah-Darko that I've seen, pretty much with a couple of exceptions, from big newspapers, has been meet the artist who is doing this inspiring Last Supper project. The New York Times very recently, even after these the Mail and Volkskrant published these articles, the New York Times published a really kind of reticent article that was almost venerating him, and this shows the power of he's obviously practiced excuses, but the true power of this massive thing which we call mental health and don't
But
fully
also
understand.
it's the appearance of vulnerability. And I think one of the things that people are accusing him of, which I think he has, if these sort of stories are true, even if he was doing all these things to the best of intentions, and we'll give him that benefit of the doubt, he has used the situation and used the taboo nature and used the conscience controversy and use the sort of the fear and uncertainty and discomfort that we have around such topics and such ideas to get away with some behavior that's really unbecoming of anybody, but especially someone who is trying to portray themselves as, I don't know, a vehicle in which people can follow them and see the goodness in humanity. Because actually, what you're doing there is then capitalizing on everyone else's kind of discomfort, pity, or charity.
Somebody call 911. 2000's hitmaker Sean Kingston has been put behind bars. And it's about time, frankly. Sean Kingston, yeah, he's been haunting. When we were at uni, he haunted the clubs he did with
And school discos for years. Yeah, yeah, for
such hits
sure.
as Beautiful Girls, Fire Burning, and Eenie Meenie. But he's been sentenced to 3 years in prison for a wire fraud scheme. His mother,
Well,
Janice,
yeah.
got 5 years a few months ago for being part of the same scheme. And they stole, and I can't imagine Sean Kingston's mum being called Janice, but there you go.
There you go. Wow, we learn something new every day. And I didn't take it for someone to commit wire fraud either. But
Maybe a new series that I've been seeing online called Bailing Out Baddies could go swing by and pick up
not
Sean
bailing out
Janice.
baddies.
I think it might be too late for that. They stole luxury items, including watches, a 232-inch LED TV that's very specific. Um,
That's large.
232 inches, I'll say. That's, I mean, hey, sticking on when words fail, but a bulletproof, a bulletproof Cadillac Escalade, a barbershop haircut that cost a quarter, and over $1 million worth of furniture that is. So prosecutors said that Kingston reached out to victims on social media, saying he wanted to purchase luxury goods and inviting them to his various homes in South Florida. Sounds pretty good. Get to meet Sean. Get to go to South Florida. It's lovely this time of year, kind of test. Not right now, of course, because Matty doesn't let me leave the house. Prosecutors said that Sean would then promise these victims to post their products on his social media and sometimes offered to refer their products to other high-profile celebrities. So a bit of a network developing. But when
Ooh, that's always resulting network of celebrities. That's always something that works out well. And
oh, from a tropical island, no, I think it
wow.
was maybe on mainland Florida. Keep an eye on that. But when payment was due for the products, he or his mother sent them fake wire receipts. That I presume that's like a bank transfer receipt that you might
Yes,
get
yeah,
over
yeah.
here. That falsely showed they'd sent over the money, according to prosecutors at trial. The old bait and switch, Matty. And
The old bait and switch.
during the hearing, Mark Anton, who is one letter short from greatness, a assistant U.S. attorney, said that Mr. Kingston was hooked on his celebrity lifestyle, but was living beyond his means. He was a Michigan football team, Matty. He was in the red, and
Yeah, well, so true, so true. He's
his
paying the high
attorney,
profile recruits.
yeah, his attorney, Zalaika Bozanic, said the singer was a soft guy who grew up poor when he rose to fame overnight. He said that Kingston still had the mentality of a teenager and didn't know how to run his bank accounts or business. Wrap it up. Teenager. He was like,
Hang on, I want to check on that. How old is Sean Kingston now?
wasn't he a teenager when we were born? Like,
Yes. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. Also, when it's like he says mentality of a teacher, how he handles his bank accounts, it's like that's not a defense.
No,
That's
his mother's literally in on it. She can sort it if he can't.
it's bank of mum and dad. The bank of mum and
And
dad's committing wire fraud.
she is no spring chicken. I mean, I've seen that mugshot, let me tell you. Um, Kingston, whose real name is Kishorn Anderson, apologized to the court before being sentenced and said he'd learned from his actions.
Well, we've certainly learned a lot from this episode.
Yeah, that one of us should maybe get Zoom Premium because this is our third Zoom call. But if you'd like to watch more of us, then do hit subscribe if you're watching on YouTube or Spotify. We really do appreciate it. You can also see us on the small screen, can't you, Matty?
So true. You can follow us on TikTok at New Sensation Pod or on Instagram at
News sensation. Um, and if you have a good story, a story that can beat one of those that we've told you today, we would love to hear it. So you can email us at newsensationpod@gmail.com. Matty, that's
newsensationpod@gmail.com.
Sorry for all the buffering today. As Matty makes his tour of the Mediterranean, I'm sure we'll see a bit more of that. But for now, he's been Matty Curry,
He's been Chris Patel.
and thank you for listening.